Hello everyone, Dr. Paul Rose back again with another example of measuring animal welfare using domestic poultry. One of the key concepts when we consider welfare measurement are the components of welfare itself, and these components are behavioural, physical and psychological. So let me introduce you to my two former chickens, Mary and Edith, that I had several years ago. Mary and Edith were provided with a range of different types of enrichment, both inside their run, as you can see here, as well as in the wider garden that they had access to. These types of enrichment encourage naturalistic behaviour patterns, foraging, pecking, exploration, scratching around and socialising. They gave opportunities for choice and control for the birds to be behaving together or independently. Therefore, we can look at the outputs that the animal tells us about its welfare state. Physical outputs would be the condition of the birds themselves, their plumage condition, body condition, stance, orientation, how clear their eyes are, how bright red their combs are. Behavioural outputs would be their normal behaviour patterns, the time spent on positive, appropriate behaviours for that species. Psychological components of welfare are the most difficult to infer, but we can look at the chicken's behavioural expression. We can use aspects of their body language that tell us how engaged they are, how interested they are, and how relevant the enrichment is to them if they're showing signs of positive behavioural expression that links to overall good welfare. Let's finish by putting together examples of each welfare component. A physical identifier of welfare would be plumage condition. We could score whether or not the bird's plumage was well maintained. We could check and see if the plumage was smooth, waterproof, and doing its job at keeping the bird warm and dry. We could also gather evidence that the bird was performing maintenance behaviours based on this physical characteristic of plumage condition. The bird must be healthy and able to move normally if it can preen and look after its feathers. An example of psychological component of welfare could be engagement, a behavioural expression that tells us how much is the bird interested in its surroundings. Is it curious? Does it want to engage with the other birds in its group and with its caregivers? Is it enthusiastic about the enrichment that it's being provided with? And does it actively use that enrichment? Does the enrichment keep the bird's attention? Engagement is a behavioural expression which we could score from a 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 scale, depending on how engaged or how disengaged the bird is under its current conditions. And finally, an example of the behavioural component of welfare could be measuring an enhanced time budget after the enrichment has been provided. Do we see an increased amount of time spent on foraging and exploration? These key types of behaviour that tell us that the animal is performing a naturalistic time activity pattern. Do we see reduced time spent on inactivity at times of the day when we would expect the bird to be active? And do we see a dramatic reduction or elimination in any abnormal behaviours that are indicators of negative welfare? So we have put together physical, psychological and behavioural components of welfare, and we have shown how environmental enrichment can help improve animal welfare, and we can measure the effect of that enrichment by looking at a physical measure of welfare, a behavioural measure of welfare, and a psychological measure of welfare. I hope this short video has been useful to you. Thank you very much for watching.